See, Uncle Tom, you read that book, and most blacks, 90% of blacks never read it. They always call another black, he's an Uncle Tom, he's an Uncle Tom. He's not an Uncle Tom. You read the book Uncle Tom was a guy who would not beat black women. Uncle Tom, that book, was a guy who would not beat other blacks to make them pick more cotton. Uncle Tom was a guy who would come in at night and take cotton out of his own bag and put it in other black folks' bags so they wouldn't get whippings at night.
Yo, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to Black Excellence Daily. I'm your host, Sean Croxton. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've got Dr. Claud Anderson back on the show today. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but this last couple of days, Monday and Tuesday, I kept my opening remarks very brief. And I did that for a reason. Because I was like, you know what? Let's keep these short because on Wednesday, I'm going to have a whole lot to say. So here we go. Number one, I love me some Dr. Claud Anderson. However, I am not a Dr. Claud fanboy who hangs on to his every word and claps whenever he says anything, right? I would say 60% of what he says I'm on board with. The other 40% I just completely disagree with. And some of that 40% is in this talk. Now, I wanted to play this talk, though, because he is going to provide the history of a name that we use in a derogatory way toward people who we don't really agree with. And that name is, of course, Uncle Tom. If you're calling people Uncle Toms, please realize that it is not an insult. It is actually a compliment. And if you're using Uncle Tom, it is kind of showing your ignorance, right? That you don't really understand what you're talking about. You didn't read the book. You're just saying something because you heard it from other people. But again, it is not an insult. Here is what I think is one of the biggest problems in the Black community. It is conformity. It is this need to fit in all the time. It is this need to participate in a rather groupthink mentality where everybody has to believe and say the exact same thing. And if you believe anything different, then you stand the possibility of being kicked out of the tribe and being isolated. Because you're not staying on narrative, so we're going to put you over there. And the thing is, like, if you get kicked out of the tribe, then where do you go? Like, where do you go? Like, I've heard many times, because, I'm a free thinker. I think things out and I say what I need to say. I don't hold back. But, people will say, man, you're going to lose your black card. Well, here's the thing. If thinking for myself means that I have to lose my black card, then you can take it. Right? You can have it. I surrender it. I don't want to do groupthink. I am not interested in being a robot, and nor should you. And this really comes down to what we've talked about many times on this podcast, which is this. Your beliefs lead to your thoughts and your feelings. Your thoughts and your feelings give rise to your actions. Your actions give rise to your results. It all goes back to beliefs. Like, that's the seed. If everybody keeps believing the same beliefs, you get the same results. Which is why things don't tend to change, or they're just very slow to change, because people are not, generally speaking, open-minded. If you just read about the traits of highly successful people, you will always find in there open-mindedness. They think their own thoughts and they're not afraid to express them. There are too many of us who have these thoughts, who have different beliefs, but we're afraid to say it because we're not going to fit in anymore. Because we might lose our black cards, right? If being black means I have to think the same thing as everybody else, like, come on now. Like, we can all be black and have our own thoughts. Like, that is a possibility. I've brought up this book a couple times called The Jewish Phenomenon. And I'm not saying that we have to be Jewish by any means, right? We don't have to adopt their values, but there's one thing that he writes about in the book, and it's that Jewish parents encourage their children to have their own thoughts and to express those thoughts. And most importantly, it says that Jewish parents encourage their children to be able to articulate both sides of an argument. Because if you don't know both sides of an argument, you don't know what the you're talking about. Pardon my French. You don't. If you only know one side and then somebody brings the other side to the table and you don't want to hear it, that's ignorance. You have to understand there's nuance. And if we can't get to the point where we can embrace nuance, we're just going to stay in this very same predicament. And all of our, our quote unquote best people who are having their own thoughts and doing different things, we're going to push them out because they're just going to get tired. They'll be like, I can't be myself. I can't have my own thoughts. And so they get pushed out and then they go do their own thing. And the original group gets pissed off. It says, well, why don't you bring anything back to the community? Well, when I was in the community, you guys wouldn't let me be myself. And so this, again, is a huge problem that nobody is talking about. Be your authentic self. Be who you really are. Say what you need to say. Stop worrying about losing your black card. It's just silly. I don't really get it. And stop calling people Uncle Toms as an insult because it's really a compliment. Dr. Claud Anderson's coming up.
This whole meritorious manumission policy is in effect, moving along at the same time, this control system. About 1852, a lady named Harriet Beecher Stover wanted to write about it. So she then wrote about the whole thing. She interviewed a guy whose name was Henderson, which you all know as Uncle Tom. He then told about the story. She wrote a book called Uncle Tom's Cabin. But in that book, contrary to what most people think, Uncle Tom was not the bad guy. The bad guy was Sambo. And so I'm asking you all as my brothers and sisters, please in the future, don't call a black guy who you know is worthless and trifling. Don't call him an Uncle Tom. That's complimenting him. Call him his real name, what he's entitled to, and that's a Sambo. Any black person sells his own people out and will do them in, he is a Sambo. Now, what is a Sambo again? Going back to meritorious manumission in 1710, the whole conditioning process, the whole brainwashing system, the whole social engineering system says that you must teach black people to see the world through the eyes of whites. You must see everything through their eyes. You must accept their values, their superiority, whatever they think and feel, and that way we got you contained. And that's why when you see somebody like Colin Powell running for office, they say, well, you can run for office if you see the things the way we want to see them. If you want to be conservative, you can run for office. If you want to place a lot of importance on abortion, you can run for office. If you want to talk about being anti-taxing, you can run for office, which means if you see things the way we see them as a black person, you're safe. You're acceptable. And if you don't want to do it that way, then become an athlete or an entertainer. So therefore, you identify the rest of those blacks in the country. You stay away from them. They're bad. And you start going on, you try to go get a penny out of an athlete and entertainer, do something for the black community. They're going to do it. Their advisors won't let them do it. The agents won't do it. Their promotion people won't let them do it. They're going to identify with your community because, again, they have now already died and gone to heaven. Okay, so when Harriet Beecher Stover put out her book, what she tried to tell black folk is that Uncle Tom was not a bad guy. See, Uncle Tom, you read that book, and most blacks, 90% of blacks never read it. They always call another black, he's an Uncle Tom, he's an Uncle Tom. He's not an Uncle Tom. If you read the book Uncle Tom was a guy who would not beat black women. Uncle Tom, that book, was a guy who would not beat other blacks to make them pick more cotton. Uncle Tom was a guy who would come in at night and take cotton out of his own bag and put it in other black folks' bags so they wouldn't get whippings at night. Uncle Tom was a guy who would not tell where black folk were hiding when they went across the river and they broke free as slaves. But Simon Legree, the white slave master, had a black to follow him around named Sambo, who always says, you show me, give me the right, I'll show you how to trees the coons. I'll show you where they hides. And see, and that's the guy. See, his role responsibility is going back to meritorious manumission. I told you about where you got to protect white folks' property and protect their wealth. He says, I will protect it and find it for you. And that's why you read in the movies and books that came out after Uncle Tom, you always had a black guy, a black slave, was running down the road saying, Master, master, here comes the army. Let's hide our silver and gold. And you all say, our? How did it get to be our? You know, he always wants to say something that doesn't even belong to him. And that showed up all through history. And today you got the same kind of personality doing it. And now he's not saying let's hide our silver and gold. He's called himself a conservative. I'm also against affirmative action for black folk. I'm against quotas. I'm against preferential treatment. Even had one running around talking about he wanted to pass a law to stop black folk from discriminating against whites. You still got that kind of personality that always wants to protect something, protect the strong. You always got that kind of Sambo personality. And nowadays, the best way to get rich is to say, I'm gonna practice that master's gold and silver, and I'm gonna be against them black folk. I guarantee I can get you a radio talk show. I can get you a television show. I can even get you an appointment to the Supreme Court. Okay? You tell me how many black folk you want to sell out, and I guarantee I'll show you how to make money. Because you see, every ethnic group, every religious group, every racial group, every political group has always made money off of black folk. Okay? And what I'm going to start talking about in Powernomics when I come back here in the fall is to show you all one thing. I'm going to tell you time is up. You have made, as a race, you made every religion, every ethnic group, every racial group rich. There is nobody else left on earth to make rich but yourselves. So that's all left. We got to do it for ourselves now. So don't give me this stuff about Dr. Anderson. That's the reverse discrimination. We're anti. You ain't anti nobody. You already made everybody rich. They always tell me, well, Dr. Anderson, what you're preaching isn't that segregation? Or let me tell y'all something. Starting again, back in 1850, blacks got hung up on that same mess, you know. By 1850, after Harriet Beecher Stover put out her book, here comes Frederick Douglass. He's going to take one path. He's going to go back now and try to pick up becoming an integrationist. He becomes an integrationist, since they excluded us in 1638, saying we should never be permitted to enjoy the fruits of white society, let's be integrationists and civil rights people. Let's make them let us in. So they started that top strand called integrationists, which will run Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, then up to all your civil rights leaders and Martin Luther King and that whole group, all the way down the line to even your present-day civil rights groups. They keep saying, we want access to whatever you own. We want to be included in whatever you own. Now you got another group that started after the book with Harriet Beecher Stover. They said they want to be segregationists. Then you got the more strongly willed persons like W.B. Du Bois. Then you got Martin Delany. You got Marcus Garvey. Then you got Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad. They were going the other way saying, no, we want our separate stuff. Now, what I say by myself, and I know a lot of people might get upset when I say it, both groups were right and both groups were wrong. What I say is that it is not about integration. The issue is not segregation. The issue is congregation. It means aggregating. What it is called functional pluralism, which means we are not trying to integrate, we're not trying to segregate. No other group comes here and says, I want to integrate or segregate. What they're saying is that if I come together and concentrate as a people, concentrate my power and my wealth and my resources, I can compete. That's what they're talking about. And please, since I love all of you all, and I'm going to move here with you, don't let them trick you all anymore with them upside-down glasses. They used to ask me that during integration about Dr. Anderson. Now, hold it. Now, you at the governor's office in Florida, you represent the whole state in education. Now, what do you want during integration? Do you want You got Malcolm X talking about segregation. You got Martin Luther King talking about integration. Why don't you all make up your mind? Which do you want? I said, I don't want either one. I want the same rights and privileges that everybody else got to go to either one of the sticks. Don't try to put me on one end of the stick. What I want more than anything else is to bring my people together and say, get all the power and the wealth together like everybody else. And that way, quit trying to try to define us. You see, every Asian, for instance, when he leaves his homeland, he comes to America. He looks in the mirror and says, I'm going to America. And when I get to America, I'm going to find me a community of people that either look like me or I'm going to build me a community of people that look like me, that have my values, my culture, and my language. Nobody asked him about integration or segregation. When Hispanics come to this country, they would say, I'm going in, I'm going to build me a community of people that look like me or sound like me. And like the Asians who set up little Havanas, who set up little Cambodias, little Vietnam, Chinatowns in every city. The Hispanics come in, they'll build little Mexicos, little Havanas, little Hialeahs. I can go across America and find German towns, French towns, Greek towns, Polish towns, but I can't find a black town. Because of our inappropriate behavior pattern with the Rodney King, we keep trying to integrate. Nobody else is trying to integrate. Why would you try to integrate? And I just told you in 1790, the law says in the Constitution that the majority will win and the minority will lose. If the majority will win and the minority will lose, why would you ever do anything that breaks yourself into smaller pieces?
That was Dr. Claud Anderson. His website is powernomics.com. You can watch today's entire talk on YouTube. It is called Dr. Claud Anderson on Inappropriate Behavior, a Roadblock to Empowerment. Hey, get signed up for my book club at QODbookclub.com. If you want to be part of a community that has its own thoughts and is willing to discuss different ideas and support each other at the same time, get involved, sign up for the book club. You're absolutely going to love it. We get started on Wednesday, August 6th. We are reading the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John C. Maxwell. Again, that is QODbookclub.com. I'll see you tomorrow. We got Les Brown on. Peace.